Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Uh, it is, it's another day. It's another week. It's, uh, it's another day in hell, basically. Um, this is unfortunately not going to be the most, positive and, uplifting episode of the show. Not the most, I don't know, not the most optimistic feeling uh hour of your life, but hopefully by the time we get to the end of what I want to talk about today, we are looking at a more slightly more optimistic, slightly more reasonable and attainable uh outlook for the future, because things don't look good right now in terms of things here in the U.S., in terms of things in the Middle East, in terms of things in Europe. Things are getting pretty fucking wild over there too. I mean, if you count the war that's been going on between Russia and Ukraine, things have been pretty wild for 4 years now. But with all of that in mind, with all of the crazy shit going on in mind, I I thought it would be a good idea, a slightly more productive idea, to maybe talk about some of the ideas that people have in terms of how things might look a little bit better in the future. And just the other day, Tucker Carlson released a 10-point manifesto. Some people are calling it. It's really just like a list of ideas that he thinks are essential to America making it out of the real slump that we're in right now, with any sort of, I don't know, positive outlook for the future. The 10 things that he lists are uh, fundamental, obviously. Some of them are very understandable. Some of them, not everybody can agree with. There are certain parts of some of the points that he brings up that I don't necessarily agree with, but I think that he's got the most reasonable take so far. And so I wanted to go through those with you and give my 2 cents on it. I went through and I grabbed what I figured, in my opinion, was the most, hello, Greg, the most salient points out of the 10. And I will play those in his words so you can hear him say it, and then I'll give you my sort of 2 cents on it afterwards. But the 10 things that America should be: fair, sovereign, productive, beautiful, healthy, optimistic, wise, decent, and united. It's kind of in the name, but yeah, America should be fair.
That was obviously criminal. But what rankles people so much by the Epstein story is not that he was bad, it's that he got a pass because of who he was. The rules did not apply to him. People can't tolerate that. It makes them crazy, and it should, because it gives a lie to the whole pretense that this is somehow a fair society.
Yeah, the Epstein story, the Epstein scandal, the Epstein case, whatever the fuck you want to call it, is by far the textbook example of how things are not fair in America right now. There is a a glaring example of somebody who, because of the position that he was in terms of finances, he had a ton of money. In terms of the connections that he has, the relationships that he has, he's connected to literally the higher ups around the entire globe. And every other secret, dark energy, whatever the fuck you want to call it, all of this backdoor, conniving, twisty shit that rich and powerful people are able to pull off in order to not get in trouble for clearly like despicable shit is that's not something that we can get past. I don't feel like if the legal system is not going to punish every citizen the same, then one of the very fundamental like building blocks of the system that we're supposed to be living in isn't working. So the entire system isn't going to fucking work. You have to make sure that everyone gets a fair shake, whether good or bad. It's really as simple as that. Uh Second thing that America should be is sovereign.
Debt is a form of slavery. And our leaders are so invested in it that they'll attack you for noting it. But it's true, and everybody knows it's true. And so it's important to say that. The goal is sovereignty. No more foreign lobbyists, none. No more control of the agencies by industry, none. And no more government promotion of debt to high-interest moneylenders. It's all of a piece.
Yeah. Um if you aren't a sovereign nation, then you are not in control of yourself. Like he says in this episode, like, yes, I cut out a lot of really great thoughts. So if you want to hear him in his entirety and his entire thoughts on this, then go watch his episode. I'll link it below. But yeah, he says in that episode that the opposite of sovereignty is slavery. If you are not sovereign, then you are a slave. If you are not in control of yourself, then you are being controlled by somebody somehow. The the financial system that this country, well, it wasn't founded on it. Right around the early 1900s is when this whole nasty system was put together. We'll get into more detail in the future. I promise I'll explain that to you if you don't already know. But the debt based money system that we exist under right now is created in order to control people. If you are financially withholden to someone else, if you don't have free and equal access to the same amount of like I don't know how to put this. If you don't have like free access to tons of liquid money, then you are sort of obligated to work within the rules and the systems where you can get the money that you need. Does that make sense? Like, I mean, if you're just a normal, everyday working class person, you're not going to have tons of extra money sitting around. So if you're wanting to take a step forward in life, you, I don't know, apply for and get a credit card or apply for and get some kind of personal loan. And now, instead of having generated money on your own and created income on your own, you are now obligated to pay back whoever you borrowed that money from. You are not necessarily in control of your own decisions if you aren't the one financing your own decisions. And that's sort of how it works on like a personal level, but on a systemic level, on a governmental level, when you have congressmen, senators, House representatives, cabinet members, presidents, Supreme Court justices, like, doesn't matter. They're all paid. But when you have government officials who are not um, fulfilling the duties of their job because they have been otherwise incentivized by people who are financially able to incentivize those people, that's that doesn't work. That doesn't work. That's not by the people, of the people, for the people. That's not a representative democracy. If the money is getting all of the decisions that it once made, then the government is not functioning as a representation of its people. It is representing those small groups and those small interests. And if we don't get money out of politics, if we don't crack down on lobbying and enforce laws about insider trading for congressmen and also enact some kind of term limit on these people, I don't think if these people have the opportunity to game the system, they're going to game it. So we have to get rid of that part of the game, or it's just going to be continued to be abused until the end of fucking time. The third thing that the United States should be is productive.
You didn't want a Soviet car. It ran on like kerosene and broke down at red lights. Like it was a joke because the system was a joke. And we knew the system was a joke because of what they made. So what do you say about a system that makes money lending and real estate speculation and flock cameras and Tomahawk missiles? Like that's it? That's what a great nation makes? It's shameful and very hard to fix, by the way. And there have been well-intended efforts to fix it. And again, this is the problem with beginning with a technocratic solution rather than the undergirding principle. The undergirding principle is you have to make beautiful, enduring, well-made things in order to respect yourself and have a nation worth defending. That's the fact. Let's start there. What do you do about it?
Yeah, there is. I'm just gonna keep saying yeah because I fully agree with what he's saying. But yes, when a people group, when a country, when a nation, whatever, when you aren't actually creating some sort of tangible good or meaningful service to the people around you, or I don't know. I'm sure there's other good examples, but I mean, exactly like he said it. I mean, if our economy, if our GDP is based on speculating on oil futures and the real estate market, just selling people the same house over and over again for more money, the inflation rate that we exist under right now, and just how mass produced and slimmed down and cut down everything is right now. Nothing is like when people say this stuff doesn't feel real, they're not that far off. There's not a lot of shit that's real anymore. The majority of the US stock market is fucking AI companies who are being propped up by a bunch of oil money from the Middle East. And that might blow up. So if that blows up, the AI companies lose their money and our stock market collapses. That's a side note. We won't dig into that. But if we are not making cars and not at like the very top of the agricultural industry, and we're not also dominating in other areas of manufacturing, and if we are not working on anything real, then we have nothing real to stand on anymore. We are literally just a like country that is the stock market. That's what we are now. We are estimating and calculating risk and placing big bets if you've got the money to do it, and taking what you win and fucking running with it. But that's not sustainable. That's not real. It's not real. The fourth thing that America should be is beautiful.
A baseline demand. Do not build another ugly public building, period. Do not use disposable materials to crowd our landscape with soul-destroying crap ever again, because we're human beings who need beauty. It feeds our soul. You don't have to be a liberal art major from Bennington to believe that. It is true for every human being at every point in time. beauty is essential. And a society that does not produce beauty probably won't continue. And we want ours to continue.
Yeah, there God damn it, I said yeah again. Whatever. Cut me some slack. It's been a long life. Um, this goes with the point that goes before it. When everything is mass produced, when everything is cookie cutter, template, when when everything is gray, when everything is just a fucking gray and black concrete box, there is there's shit missing from your life. I don't know, like this isn't a new concept. There's plenty of people explaining having the same sort of feeling in different words, because there's like that meme of like all the like gas station and fast food signs and like people complaining about how ugly that is. Yeah, that's ugly. That's super loud and busy and colorful and neon and buzzing and annoying. That's that's not what we're going for. That's back the right way, but like too far the other way. You don't want nasty, bland, gray blobs. You don't want every single public building to be hideous and to all look exactly the same, and every car to be either black, gray, or white and be shaped exactly the same and have the same color headlights, and the everything is just so fucking plain right now. And I understand how some of that can literally just be like the taste of the time. Greg, you're being extra crazy today, and I need you to stop invading the set as crazily as you are. Thank you so much. I love you. Um, I don't remember what the fuck I was saying, but yeah, let's try and introduce some spice to life again. Let's try and like not have shit be so plain. There's there is a real spiritual benefit to the things around you bringing you joy. And if you can't relate to that sentiment, I guess you can't relate to that sentiment, but I think Tucker's dead on when he says that. The fifth thing that America should be is healthy.
And it means being clear minded, it means being sober, actually. And we're very far from both of those things because nobody seems to have the courage to just say it out loud. What is health? Well, health is sobriety, actually, and physical vigor. So you can start, and Bobby Kennedy, to his great credit, has articulated this well, with better food. Shouldn't be eating poison. You should know what's in the food. The government does have a role in regulating food.
This is the one where I feel like I have like a couple of personal snags with the point that he's trying to make, but for the most part, I fully agree with what he's saying. Um, there is very real, very effective change that could be taken, changes that could be made, and steps that could be taken. Said it right the second time. Uh, in terms of the food that we consume on a daily basis, it's not good for you. It has been chemically engineered in a specific way in order to make you crave it, and uh, make basically just like keep you from stopping eating it. It's just when I don't know. This is sort of a weird point, but I hope that this makes sense. When everything tastes like the best thing that you've ever had, it's really hard to stop eating. When things are pumped full of artificial sweeteners and artificial flavors, it makes it like hard for whole foods, real food, to be able to like stack up against it in terms of like the experience of eating it. But It's poison. It's not good. Don't you, just because it feels good and it tastes good doesn't mean that it stays good forever. The moment that that shit actually hits your system, you fucking pay the price. I say all of this as someone who is 1000% stuck in the same trap as everybody else. I I love I love the poison food. I love the junk food. I love the sweets. I love the salty. I love the McDonald's. God, I eat more McDonald's than literally anybody I know. But I'm hoping that having put this thought out onto the internet permanently and also just genuinely having the desire to make these changes myself. I will hold myself to a level of accountability to not do that as bad anymore from now on. Just grandfather me in terms of taking better care of yourself, in terms of what you eat. But the also the pharmaceutical and medical industry is specifically set up in a way to not solve the problem. If you've got a if you have a chronic illness, big pharma's goal is not to get rid of it. You are a profit center. You are a place to make money. So you're going to stay sick. They're going to give you something that might slightly help with whatever issue you're having, but they're not going to solve it. They got to keep you on that medicine, baby. Come on. The the vaccine industry. This is like the most this is like the most treacherous ground. This is the most delicate territory. This is where people will really get their feathers ruffled by someone saying the wrong thing to them. But I wish you the best with whatever you're dealing with. If you're one of those people who, I don't know, for some reason decides to defend Pfizer about COVID, because, yeah, I've been obviously skeptical of big pharma for as long as I can remember. Thanks, Dad. But COVID really, really woke me up to how much the powers that be really just don't have anybody's well being in mind, because I got I was like fully into the brainwash at first. I was very panicked. I was Greg, come on, what are you doing? Greg, what are you doing? She's making a bunch of fucking noise. I apologize for her, but I was fully into it. I was reading about all of the confirmed cases all around the world. I was reading about what exactly is this? What are the risks? What, like, am I good? Like, what exactly? I was like desperate for information because there wasn't a lot. I think that was intentional. Um, but as things sort of played out and started to not make sense from one day to the next, slowly, as time passed, started to realize that, like, this all seems kind of orchestrated. But I don't know. All of this seems a little sponsored and a little paid for and a little heavily marketed. But I don't know. The the bottom line out of this whole point that I want to make here is it is not on the people in charge to take care of you every day, to feed you your breakfast and feed you your lunch and feed you your dinner and tuck you in for bed. I get it. I'm not saying that they have to literally hold everyone's hand and make sure that everyone has a perfectly clean bill of health. That would be ridiculous. The point that I'm trying to make here is that when the system has been created in a way that incentivizes not helping. We have to tear down that system to the very fucking studs and rebuild it in a way that incentivizes helping people and caring for people. I I don't know. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a legislator, so I guess I'm not an expert on those topics. I'll leave it to them. The s- the sixth thing that America should be is honest.
Excuses for it, and they may be valid or sound valid, but it's never a good thing. And you can never tolerate it, at least officially. We always have to say it is wrong to lie. And that has to be expressed, by the way, in the legal code. So if it's a crime to lie to the government, which it is, you can't lie to a federal agent. Lots of people have gone to jail for it, Martha Stewart famously. Then it has to be a crime for the federal government to lie to you. But is it a crime for the federal government to lie to you? No. In fact, it's encouraged. Every sting operation, every elaborate FBI scheme is based on lying. Is it a safe country? Do you feel safe? Is there less fraud? Of course not. It doesn't work. It hasn't worked. But it's the law. The law reflects the truth as of right now, which is it's totally fine for your leaders to lie to you. It's a crime for you to lie to your leaders. And that has to be fixed in order to get back to equilibrium because it's insane. And it sends exactly the wrong message, which is it's their country, not yours.
This one also piggybacks off of the last point. The government was not being honest with the general population in terms of literally just as simple as what COVID was. There has been I don't know, how far back do you want to go? There's such a ridiculously comically long, like medieval scroll that like rolls all the way out to the door type long list of things that our government has just straight up lied to us about. And that that can't be tolerated in a properly working system. You know, there's when you are establishing a relationship between you and another individual, there is an expectation of honesty. There is an expectation of trust. When I am interacting with my friends, I am expecting them and myself, obviously, to exhibit a certain level of honesty and truth and I don't know, clarity, some sort of I don't know what word I want to put on this. Just being able to be on the exact same page as the other person. That's an important thing. That's a big deal. A lot of people make that one of the pillars of their relationships. So when we are in a position where the government is allowed to straight up lie, literally just straight up lie, but on a larger level, create legislation and policy and foreign policy on things that are not based in truth, that's a setup for a long list of fucking problems. That list is as long as the fucking scroll that I was just describing. It's a long list. Uh yeah, if we are not going to hold our government to a certain level of accountability, at the very least in terms of what they are and aren't telling us, then I feel like we sort of deserve the system that we have right now. So we've got to stand up and be like, "No. What the fuck? What really happened? What didn't really happen? What is the just tell the people the truth." It should be no more complicated than that. The seventh thing that America should be is optimistic.
People are thinking about the future, making plans for the future, expecting something better in the future, protecting against the possibility of something worse in the future, but they are living ahead of themselves. They're thinking about a time when they won't be here. Why are they doing that? Because they have children. It's really simple, because they have children. Countries that place value on children, and not just like little kids running around playing, but generations that think in terms of what might exist after I'm gone, that are rooted in some sort of historical continuity. I came from here, my descendants will be here. People who think in those terms are by definition optimistic.
This is one that I can relate to a lot. Excuse me. The show is not brought to you by Alani. Um, you have to be optimistic. You have to be optimistic. This isn't even just a suggestion for America at large. This is a suggestion for every single person listening to this fucking episode right now. You have to be optimistic. As someone who has lived a large portion of his life as a pretty fucking pessimistic person, it's a lot better on the other side. I got to tell you with confidence, it's a lot better on the other side. And Tucker's exactly right. The best way to become an optimist is to have children, because the exponential increase in my level of optimism and like energy towards the future has skyrocketed. Like, it's crazy how much farther ahead I'm thinking now that I'm a dad. Like, now that there is quite literally the next generation for me right in front of me, I've I'm only thinking about optimistic shit. I don't have the mental bandwidth. I don't have the mental capacity for anything that isn't optimistic, you know? Like, I'm a pretty busy guy now, so I got to root out the shit that's negative. And glass half empty motherfuckers, stay away from me. We don't have time for that. Glass half empty motherfuckers, stay out of America in the future, because we don't have time for you. We need to be looking at the best possible option. We need to be evaluating the best case scenario. I'm not saying that we don't keep in mind the worst case scenarios, because they could obviously still happen. But you gotta focus on the best case scenario, and you gotta plan for the best case scenario. Plan for everything, but specifically, like, act like the best possible thing is gonna happen. Because if not, you're probably gonna self-fulfilling prophecy yourself into the bad outcome. So the at the end of the day, the most important one on this entire list is this one. You have to stay optimistic. You have to. But the eighth thing that America should be is wise.
In order to participate meaningfully in the future, in order to help them. And what would you want to do to your kids? Educate them? Obviously not. You'd want to make them wise. So wisdom is the goal. Living in a wise country is the goal. Now, how is it different from education? Well, education is what we have. Education is a credentialing system whereby some tax-exempt institution issues you a document showing that you have been, quote, educated. And lost in that process is any real check on whether you have an education, whether you know anything or understand anything of great value. And increasingly, with some exceptions, but increasingly, it is obvious to everybody that that system is completely broken. It turns out people without skills, without an understanding of how things work, and without the ability to make sensible decisions, otherwise known as wisdom. It just doesn't work.
This one is another big personal one for me. This is at the very root of one of my biggest, like, hangups in life, I guess. Um like, he breaks it down so well. There's a difference between being educated and being wise. Like, you can know as many fucking fun trivia facts as you want. That's great, and I'm proud of you for memorizing them. But that doesn't actually give you any sort of real tactile knowledge that you're going to be able to apply to your life. Unless you're like a trivia night host, because then I guess that's career prep. But the the fundamental difference between somebody who is smart and somebody who is wise, I would say, is probably experience. The Most of the wisdom that you gain throughout life is gained through experience. But Tucker makes a great point. One of the most important things that you can do for your children or for the next generation, if you don't feel like having kids or whatever fucking situation you're in personally, you can still, like, you can make someone else wise. They don't have to go through all of the same life experiences. If you already have, you can sit down and tell them, "Hey, I've been in a tough financial spot before, and this realistically is your best way out of it." You can be a like professional mentor for somebody. If someone younger than you or your kids is struggling with something in school or in terms of their work. Obviously, I'm thinking about farther down the line. I have a newborn daughter. I'm not exactly having these conversations yet, but when she's older and in school and has a job and shit, I'll be able to walk her through those tougher situations because I've experienced it. I've been around. So I think there's been, well, I don't think, I know for a fact, that's the whole point of what Tucker was just saying. There has been a, as far as I'm concerned, ridiculous focus on like quantitative knowledge instead of qualitative knowledge. And you're not going to survive without the qualitative. The quantitative might be able to get you through a day at work, but when you get home at the end of the day, that's where the wisdom kicks in. And if you don't have it, the very, very tumultuous times that we are about to go through are going to be a little bit harder. So I guess if you're wise, like I like to believe I am, lucky you. If you're not wise, you better get wise. Uh, yeah, you better get wise. America better get wise. But the ninth thing that America should get is decent.
That's why it was always called the Defense Department, at least for the past 80 years. The Defense Department. We are defending ourselves. And if we can't say we're defending ourselves, we're not doing it because we're decent. And in the course of defending ourselves, if we murder people, and it is murder, who committed no crime, posed no threat to us, who are non-combatants, women, children, we're going to apologize for it. And we're going to call it what it is, which is a crime against international law, but more importantly, against decency. And when another country commits genocide against a population, kills tens of thousands of children, as our closest ally has, as countries tend to do, by the way, it's a recurring theme in history. Israel's not the only country that's committed genocide, and neither is Nazi Germany. It's happened a lot. But when that does happen, we're not going to pay for it because it's disgusting. It's not hard to say that. In fact, it's a relief to say that because everybody knows it. And if you blow up a girls' school, you're going to say, "I'm sorry we did that." In fact, we'll pay you restitution because no child, no schoolgirl deserves to get blown up by a Tomahawk missile or double tapped. And if we did it or the Iranians did it or Israel did it or Sri Lanka did it, it doesn't matter. It's always wrong.
The the level of unfortunately straight up immaturity sometimes, but um I would say just the straight up lack of class that the specifically the American military. I'm going to keep this in the vein that Tucker's really nailing down because it's the biggest indecency going on in America right now. The whole being decent in terms of who you are as a person is up for debate, and I'm not super concerned with all of that. You guys debate that yourselves. What I'm worried about is being decent as a people, as a nation, as a military. You should still be decent even if you're like killing people. You should only kill the people that you have to. I I think that's the I don't remember. I don't know exactly the rules. I'm not a general. So, I'm not a general, but like I'm a human fucking being. So I can understand the fact that if you are not willing to hold yourself to a high standard, as far as I'm concerned, yes, there's obviously gray area and more complicated stories throughout our history, but earlier throughout America's history, I would argue that we were pretty decent militarily. We weren't um I'm having some trouble coming up with examples for defending the point that I'm trying to make because actually America's been pretty indecent militarily for a long time. But um regardless of how bad we've been fucking it up for however long we've been fucking it up, we should try and stop fucking it up. You know, like there is a very clear line to draw between the tolerable and the intolerable. And I am I am very disheartened by where exactly the people in our government and our military are deciding to draw that line because as a born and raised bleeding heart American, however the fuck you want to put it, I am proud of the country that I am from and that I live in. I genuinely cannot co-sign anything about what's going on right now. They they killed 70,000 innocent people in Gaza. They're invading Lebanon now. They've called Turkey the new Iran. They are bloodthirsty. They are land hungry. And if our government and our military isn't going to be willing to, at this point, stand up and say, fuck it, fucking stop. No, no, we're not doing this. Then I guess it's up to every single one of us to fucking stand up and say it for them. Because the 10th and no matter what most important thing that America should be is united.
It can sometimes flow out of racial identity, but it doesn't need to. Culture is a shared set of assumptions that holds a big group of people together. And the second reason you can have any more immigration of any kind is because of AI. So you can't simultaneously say, we're going to eliminate a third of all American jobs the next 5 years, but we need a lot more people coming into this country for work. It doesn't even make any sense at all. And so it's not an attack on any other country or group when you say, I'm sorry, we don't know what's going to happen in this country. We're going to have 100 million people without work. Probably not a great time to bring in new people. In fact, it would be crazy to bring in new people, and it wouldn't be good for those people either. But that's not ever the point. The point of running a nation is to protect that nation and the people who live there.
I think, as far as I'm concerned, I think Tucker is he's banging on the immigration nail a little harder than I would. I agree with his general point that we should be taking a very close look at exactly how many people are immigrating to the United States every year. That's how they measure it, I think. Whatever. Um, because we don't exactly have a ton of jobs to go around right now, and like he said, a bunch of those jobs have a pretty good chance of whoosh disappearing within the next couple of years. The robots will be doing those jobs instead of us. So I think the point that I want to make in terms of America being united, because he's making the argument that we should be like a recognizable like people group. And again, I just can't necessarily like I haven't put together my exact like final thoughts on where exactly I stand in terms of American identity and where we find that. So the more nuanced points that Tucker is talking about, I will let him have. What I want to say here is that we are in a very fluid time right now. Pardon. Things are tumultuous, things are crazy in a bad way, obviously. But in these times of tumultu is it tumult? Whatever. In these crazy times, these are times when there's also a window to make positive change. There is in this sort of vacuum of power in terms of one united American voice, there isn't one. So I think this is a good time when the population could come together and make that voice a lot louder and a lot more recognizable and a lot more identifiable. Um, there's there's really no getting around the reality that we don't live in a left versus right society. That's that's the biggest lie out there. And a lot of people believe it, and I'm not counting myself out of that group. I've believed that on and off throughout my life. Um it's a natural human instinct to identify someone else as the source of your problems, or the othering people has is that's not anything new. So the while that is an instinct that is helpful in some situations, obviously, if you're meeting someone for the first time and they're not a good person, you sort of want to have those instincts. You want to be able to identify sort of weird, sort of sketchy behaviors or characteristics about people. Um, it's not the worst thing to have. There's good sides of it, but I think it has been um, capitalized on a lot. It has been targeted by the powers that be, by all the people who are actually in charge of things, and don't want the people on the left and the people on the right realizing that they aren't each other's problems. Um, yeah, this whole just this fundamental lie that we live under, this conservative, progressive, Democrat, Republican, it doesn't matter. That's not real, because at the end of the day, when our Congress gets together, they are able to come to common ground on absolutely nothing except for the things that actually determine everything about our lives. The Congress can't agree except when it comes to healthcare. Congress cannot agree except when it comes to the military budget and specifically the military funding that we supply to Israel. But Big Pharma, they're all team Big Pharma. Uh, Whatever. I think you get the point that I'm trying to make here. It is not you against your neighbor. You need to go knock on your neighbor's door and introduce yourself and make friends and tell him, hey, I also talked to my neighbor on the other side, sort of getting the whole block together. And we're just gonna show up to our congressman's office and demand that he votes differently, or we're gonna vote him out. That's what you should be doing. You shouldn't be ripping campaign signs out of their yard. You should be walking up to their door and being like, "Hey, you wanna really shake some shit up?" Um, yeah, there's there's a long list. There is a very long list of things that we as a country have got to take a long look at and have got to do some hard work on. But as an optimist, as somebody who is very optimistic about things, I see things working out if the lighting magically changed. I have automated lights, whatever. It's white now. If What the fuck? What was I saying? Fuck. Yeah, there's probably a lot more that I could dig into, but I will leave it at that. Uh like I said, Tucker's video is very good, and if you want to hear everything that he had to say about all of the things that we talked about, his video will be below, so go check that out. Um, I don't need to be giving Tucker Carlson shout outs, but I'll give him the little bit of interaction that I can give him, I guess. But yeah, there's a long list of shit that we as people, but more importantly as a nation, as Americans, need to take a long look at and do some hard work on. But as an optimist, I see us, if we stick to these 10 points, I see us making it out the other side all right. We will, things will be different, things will change, obviously. I don't think the world that we live in is ever going to go back to where it was before, like this presidential administration. But I think things are going to be okay. I think we're going to be okay. So, yeah, stick to these 10 points and you'll probably make it. I'll talk to you soon. I love you. Bye.